Hi, I'm Akira Jimbo. I'd like to welcome you to my DVD entitled Fujiyama. I've been pursuing the art of using the drum set as a solo instrument for 15 years. I've spent a lot of time researching and developing the organic combination of electronic and acoustic drums. The conventional thought of doing this is to use a sequencer or some kind of backing track machine. With the sequencer, you become a slave to the machine. You are forced to follow the click track. Not very fun. With trigger system, the machine follows you, so you are the master. It's so fascinating because you can put your own band in such a small box. You can put it in your shoulder bag and travel anywhere. Also, with this system, you can change the drum set from being only a rhythm instrument to one that is open to an infinite number of musical possibilities. You'll feel as if you see the breathtaking panoramic view. I've spent a lot of time developing the trigger system method. I call this Fujiyama method, named after the highest mountain in Japan. I hope this DVD cuts down your path on your mountain and quickly brings you to your musically panoramic view. Okay, let's get started. The location of trigger pickups on your acoustic drums is very important. I've tried many different locations and found the best one. For bass drum, directly on the outside of the batter head, below the point at which the beater hits, and about 4 inches above the floor. This is done by using gaffer tape. I recommend to put some muffling inside. Please make sure muffling covers the point where the trigger pickup is attached. For snare drum, the trigger should be attached on the rim, below the left-hand rim shot point. This is also done by using gaffer tape. Please make sure the stick doesn't hit the pickup directly. For tom-tom, the trigger should be attached on the shell, just below the right-hand stick striking point. Please make sure the pickup is also touching the hoop of the drum head. If you want an acoustic tom sound and the triggered sound, you would strike the head. If you only want the triggered sound, you would strike the rim. I put the trigger pickup on my bass drum, snare drum, 3 toms, and left foot clave. I also use stereo electronic drum pads, 2 pads on my right-hand side, 3 pads on my left-hand side. One of the most important elements in this setup is the position of the program change pads. This pad is used to move one program to the next by simply hitting it. I put this pad on my left-hand side, so I can change the program of the very last 16th note of one bar and easily start the next program on the first downbeat of the next bar. I position the program change pad in a higher place to separate it from the other 3 triggering pads. Acoustic drums are a very sensitive instrument with a wide dynamic range. We need some compromise. I put some gate to cut the lower level of the signal. I recommend setting the input level from 30% to 100%. By doing this, the signal from 1% to 29% will be ignored, and mistriggering can be prevented. I set the velocity sensitivity from 126 to 127. By doing this, the triggered sounds always play the loudest dynamic level. If I need various dynamic level, I use the pads, not triggered acoustic drum. I set the self-rejection time to a proper level. Self-rejection time is a function which reject a signal for 30 milliseconds, so that the double triggering will be avoided. It should be set at more than 100 milliseconds. The trigger function has 3 modes: stack mode, alternate mode, and hold mode. Stack mode is used for playing chords. Alternate mode is used playing a cycle of notes. Hold mode is used holding notes. I recommend to use Yamaha module because this is the most advanced triggering system. There are various ways of programming. First, I think about drum pattern. Even if I have a cool idea of melodic and harmonic parts, they shouldn't disturb my natural body movement. After the drum pattern is set, I assign the other sounds on each limb. The next step is to think about the bass line. You can program in many different ways, but one of the most reasonable one is to synchronize the bass line with the bass drum. Since my 2-bar drum pattern contains 5 bass drum hits, I program a 5-note cycle of bass sound using the alternate mode. Goes like this. You may want to assign some chords. This is done in the stack mode. For example, I have programmed 3 different chords triggered on my left-hand side pads. Each chord has 5 notes. I play them on the downbeat of every 2 bars. Remember, this is a simple example. You can make it hipper by playing the chords on the second beat or on the end of beat 2 of every 2 bars. Now it's time to add the melody. This is done by using a 5-note cycle. I assigned the melody to the 2 pads on my right-hand side. Do this by using the alternate mode in the trigger system. I like my melody. but it is a little bit too simple. I can add a twist by assigning one additional note on the rim of the stereo pads. To add a color to a groove, I like to use loops. The best place to create loops is in the hold mode in the trigger function. I can start or stop the loop pattern by hitting the pad. The first strike starts the loop, the second strike stops it. You have complete control. My favorite place to assign loops is on my left foot clave or the rim of the stereo pad. Effect sounds are what I call high-profile sounds. They are used to grab people's attention. I set a longer self-rejection time for those sounds. For example, if I set the self-rejection time to 5 seconds, no other effect sound can be triggered from the same source for 5 seconds. When I need only the effect sound, I play only the rim of the drums. To get acoustic and triggered sound, I hit the center of the drum. Now that the programming is complete, it's time to put together the performance. Most songs have specific sections such as a verse, chorus, bridge, etc. For each song section, use a new program. You have to determine a specific order of the programs and program it inside the trigger system. This is called a chain. When you are playing the drums, you control what section to go to by striking the program change pad. The first program has been already completed. We will call that the A section. Let's program the B section now. I want to keep the B section easier and different from the A section. To do this, I create a rhythmic break using a horn sound with a bass note root under it. I assigned the horns and the bass to different MIDI channels in the stack mode. Now I add loops and effects to add more color. Now that the programs are completed for the A and B section, let's create a song. To play the song and move from section A to B to A, we have to practice striking the program change pad on the last 16th note of each section. Okay, now I'm gonna play the song Jamming in the Night in very simple ABA form. In creating this simple song, you have come to understand how the trigger system works. Keep in mind, you can create a song as complicated as you would like. For example, you can add a C section. This gives you many options and variations for song structure, such as A, B, A, C, B, A. This makes it more musical and challenging. Let's try it with Jamming in the Night. Music has three elements: rhythm, melody, and harmony. Those three are intimately related to each other, and it's difficult to separate them. Please remember, the drum set is not just a rhythm instrument. It can have melodic and harmonic aspect. The trigger system allows you to expand on this concept. You should have knowledge of harmony and melody. I believe it's very important for drummer to be able to play some kind of harmonic instrument. Guitar, keyboard, whatever. You don't have to be a great player on those instruments, but by having the knowledge of harmonic and melodic movement, you'll get a wider view to the world of music. And this can help you develop a deeper understanding on your drumming. Get started now, and let's explore amazing panorama together.